Hello again, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for this Friday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting today's show. Up first on the hazardous warning graphic, we still have the dense smoke advisory out for the Kenai Peninsula here due to the mainly the Swanson Lake fire. That's out until early this evening, then should end. Moisture clouds coming up, so it looks like some wetting rains will move across the burn areas there, and that should hopefully improve conditions. So again, that advisory due to end here in the next several hours, early Friday evening. Otherwise, remainder of state, whatever is going on up north yesterday has ended, so no watches, warnings, or advisories out anywhere around the state. Fire danger-wise, still high to very high here over the Kenai Peninsula and into the Susitna-Matanuska Valley, western Cook Inlet, as well as a swath of the Copper River Basin, where temperatures this afternoon are back up into the lower 70s, May Creek and Chitina, for example. And slowly improving, though. Lost what we had in Bristol Bay with the rain moving in there today, and also about 1/10 of an inch falling in Homer during the last 12 hours there. So that's helping the southern peninsula out, and I expect that moisture will move right on up into Cook Inlet and hopefully Matanuska-Susitna Valleys overnight tonight. And satellite imagery, here's the cloudiness associated with that system coming in, and kind of an enhancement right here. A little bit of a wave developed there, and that put the squeeze in the atmosphere, and they wrung out about nearly an inch of rain at Kodiak State Airport during the day today, while other locations, King Salmon had 1/3 of an inch of precipitation, Iliamna 1/4 of an inch, and this passed along the Alaska Peninsula. Some areas had anywhere from 1/3 to upwards of 2/3 of an inch of rain, and that's all moving right up into south central Alaska and the Kuskokwim Valley, southern Kuskokwim Valley, and in much lighter amounts back through here, just a few hundredths of an inch today, 200ths, for example, over at Gamble, and not much different areas of really light rain here in this portion of that system. And here, the next the cloud shield there associated with the next developing storm, which is much stronger than this one as it comes in. In fact, it's going to have some good gale force winds, at least here with it into the Aleutians tonight, and that'll be moving right up into the southeast Bering Sea, and it looks like very windy conditions developing on Saturday night and Sunday here across south central Alaska, higher elevations, as well as back to the southwest. Otherwise, another sunny day here for the southeast coast with temperatures in the southern panhandle reaching the lower to mid 70s and even some lower 70s up toward Haines and the Klondike Highway there, as well as the Copper River Basin, as I mentioned, with mostly sunny skies. The clouds on the increase here over Cook Inlet and the rain developing over southern Cook Inlet. And otherwise, not a lot going on up to the north with some lower clouds, areas of fog along the Arctic coast, especially early on, and then clearing, afternoon clearing here over the north slope in the Brooks Range. And you can see this moisture kind of dissipating here as it moves north into the central interior. But this will hold together through tonight and tomorrow and should bring some precipitation into southern areas. On the chart today, we had that system develop here, weak low at the surface, and that helped bring the heavier rainfall into Kodiak on the east side today and across the island up into Bristol Bay. High pressure, central eastern Gulf of Alaska, keeping it clear in those areas right into the panhandle with those mild temperatures. Copper River Basin, central interior, narrow band of clouds here over right up just south of the Brooks Range from the Yukon Flats back in toward Kotzebue, and the Seward Peninsula a little bit, but also some clearing, Brooks Range on the north slope, and some areas of fog earlier or even into the afternoon possibly, generally just cloudy along the eastern stretch of the coastline, but even there, the clouds tend to have been tending to decrease there during the afternoon hours, and then this offshore flow blowing the clear skies right out off the coast here along the western areas from Kivalina up to about Wainwright. And this front here, again, light amounts of precipitation either side of it here, reaching St. Lawrence Island earlier today, down into Bristol Bay. This is the heavier precipitation producing area. And then you can see the tighter pressure field with that next system bringing rain. Winds haven't really increased too much over the central Aleutians yet, but they should jump up a little, well, they will jump up overnight tonight into tomorrow. We'll see for tonight, 969 millibar low center just south of the central Aleutians, and pretty good, at least gale force winds around that center. especially in advance of the front, with moderate to heavy rain pushing into Unmac Island later tonight. Won't reach the Pribilofs probably till tomorrow. This original front here breaks into just a trough now, but enough moisture with it. Look for some whiting rains that come across the Kenai Peninsula, Cook Inlet areas, and trying to push up into northern Cook Inlet, Madanuska, Susitna Valley. But that'll move through late tonight and tomorrow. Otherwise stays fair to the north, variably cloudy. High pressure right off the Arctic coast. We'll keep areas of low clouds and fog along the coastline. That'll tend to increase again over the north slope, but not too extensive. Stays fair, southeast interior, right on down the coast of the Panhandle. And then for tomorrow, Saturday, first day of the weekend, that trough lifts northward, so best chance of rain will be during the morning hours, along with the lowest flying conditions here. And then this will tend to weaken as well as move eastward and east-northeastward. So that'll end in the afternoon, and look for increasing clearing over southern Cook Inlet tomorrow afternoon. A break here, Kodiak Island. Dry conditions, maybe some sunshine tomorrow here over the southwest interior and Bristol Bay. That kind of the calm before the storm here, which is now shifting over to just west of Nikolsky and to the north. Gale force winds, possible storm force gusts here through the passes of the Alaska Peninsula. You see gusts 60, 70 miles an hour, a place like Cold Bay. It's kind of a classic wind setup for them, for those southeast winds. Otherwise, by contrast here, partly and mostly sunny again for the southeast coast. Maybe some patchy areas of low clouds and fog right along the coast early on, but generally back into the 60s and 70s for your highs. Definitely be cooler Copper River Basin and Madanuska Valley. And still not too bad, could push up towards 70 maybe here over the eastern interior, but dry all the way to the Arctic coast. Starting to see an increase in the easterly winds due to a tightening gradient with that high just to the north there. And now the falling pressures over south and southwest Alaska. Taking a look at Sunday's forecast, that trough shifts up to the north here, really just a band of clouds, just and isolated showers associated with it. Front brings strong winds in across south central Alaska. Gulf of Alaska as well. Kodiak Island, quite windy. In fact, windy and occasionally wet conditions all across the Alaska Peninsula to the eastern Aleutians, and breezy and wet for the southwest coast into the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta over to about Dillingham. Could see 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts with this for king salmon, maybe even 40 to 50 miles an hour. Easterlies breezy with rain, St. Lawrence Island and the Seward Peninsula. Another sunny day Sunday. A couple of real nice days coming up for the Panhandle. And temperatures again, 60s maybe to lower 70s. And for lows tonight down there, 40s to lower 50s. And it looks like mostly in the 40s, 45 to 50 southeast interior. So actually 45 to 50 all the way out to the coast. 30s dropping a shade below freezing in the Brooks Range, and near freezing over the north slope. Highs for tomorrow, 40s north slope in the Arctic coast to mid-60s, Tanana Valley, Greater Fairbanks area, and in the lower to mid-60s here over south central Alaska. And again, 65 to 73 possibly for the Panhandle, 60s Kodiak Island, Alaska Peninsula to the Fox Islands. And the lows for Sunday morning, mid-30s, Arctic coast to near freezing to maybe 29 for the low over at Arctic Village. Add 10 degrees to that for Eagle. Upper 30s Copper River Basin. No change for the Panhandle, upper 40s to lower 50s. And lower to mid-50s for the Bristol Bay area, mid-50s Kodiak. And following that up with high temperatures for Sunday afternoon. North slope into the lower to mid-50s there, again with some possible afternoon sunshine. Near 70 in the Tanana Valley, Fairbanks area, 65 to 68 for the northern Kuskokwim Valley, and mid-60s Susitna Valley, and with a little more sun could reach near 70 around the Kenai area. Otherwise, 60s once again over the southeast coast.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
First line weather graphic Saturday morning. A band of marginal and IFR here breaking up as it moves northeastward and weakens throughout the day. Something of a break behind that, and then the next band of IFR and marginal conditions associated with the much stronger storm coming in over the Aleutians. Also some IFR over the northern Bering Sea. Otherwise pretty good over the interior and the Panhandle. For the afternoon, marginal VFR along and just off the Arctic coast, western north slope maybe, and IFR possibly lingering up around Denali and this portion of the Alaska Range, but generally improving here throughout the afternoon as that system pulls off to the northeast and weakens. And so VFR back to the southwest, and then that big storm bringing IFR in across from the eastern Bering into the western Bristol Bay area, across much of the Alaska Peninsula, and also out here over the central Aleutians, and a swath of IFR northeastward right up into the St. Lawrence Island area, and say from Nome on up to Teller, Wales, and Tin City in those areas. Good VFR here over much of central eastern interior, possible marginal VFR, southern slopes of the eastern Alaska Range. That's just a slight chance, and good over the Panhandle. And for Sunday morning, mostly VFR. In fact, just about all VFR, except for maybe areas along the coast for the southeast coast. IFR here up into central western Prince William Sound, southern Kenai Peninsula, Barren Islands, east side of Kodiak Island, and not so much kind of a break here over the Alaska Peninsula into Bristol Bay, but inland area is pretty marginal. IFR north and northwest of the Kuskokwim River, and right across Yukon Delta, St. Lawrence Island. IFR central eastern Arctic coast, roughly it looks like about Wainwright on eastward, and central north slope. A lot of IFR here over the Bering Sea right up into the Yukon Delta, and all the way back out to Shimiatu and the Komodorskis. And for the afternoon, becoming VFR, North Slope and much of the Arctic coast, maybe even the central coast there, although clinging to some marginal VFR. Wouldn't take much of a northward shift in that to make it VFR there as well. IFR, St. Lawrence Island, across the Pribilofs down to the north shores of Unmak and Unalaska Island. Aleutians, pretty good, marginal. Bristol Bay even better with some VFR there, and IFR lingering Kamishak Bay, Barren Islands, Fognak Island, up across Montague Island, south coast of the Kenai Peninsula, and marginal VFR mostly along the western Alaska Range. VFR, interior, Copper River Basin, and continuing over the Panhandle. And for passes, Anatuvik tomorrow and Adigan, both VFR. Coming southward, Lake Clark and Merrill, the disturbance coming up tonight. Starting out IFR, improving to VFR in the afternoon. Lowest conditions for all three passes here, including rainy, will be lowest in the morning, improving, becoming marginal for rainy in the afternoon. And windy, looks like that moisture could go, well, could actually get far enough north here. You could go marginal VFR in the southern entrance, maybe, and then kind of just slides off to the east there. So it'll be mostly VFR for Windy Pass. Isabel, VFR becoming IFR. And for Mentasta, ceilings visibility is lowering in the afternoon, especially on the southern entrance, but I believe they'll stay above VFR thresholds. Tanita, IFR becoming marginal. Portage, IFR becoming marginal. Chilkoot and White, both VFR. Freezing levels, kind of a gradient up here over the northeast interior, 2,000 feet along the Arctic coast to 8,000 feet there as you get down into the almost to the White Mountains, otherwise 10,000 over the Panhandle, 6,000 to 8,000 here in the west, and about 10,000 along the Aleutians, 12,000 now south of the area. And icing, first batch coming in, breaks up tomorrow as it moves east and northeast here, and a much more massive area of icing with areas of considerable moderate above 10,000 feet here, Alaska Peninsula, with that front lifting northward toward the Pribilofs, wrapping back into the Aleutians. Jet stream, here's that upper level low with that next big storm coming in. This one weakening, kind of slipping under some ridging up to the north there. And for 9,000 feet, 50 knot winds, eastern Aleutians, 45 for the Alaska Peninsula. Winds along the southwest coast, Bristol Bay increasing during the afternoon, otherwise light over the interior and the southeast coast. And at 3,000 feet, 45 to 50 knot winds with this storm coming up into the Aleutians. Northerlies up to 45. Central Aleutians light over the interior. And turbulence-wise, increasing moderate chop here along the southwest coast and moderate chop from the Alaska Peninsula all the way out to Shimiatu. And after the break, I'll be back with the marine forecasts.
Hello, I'm a GOES-R series weather satellite orbiting 22,000 miles above Earth. I can see a lot of cool stuff from up here, and I take pictures of it with my spiffy camera that has 16 different settings. I have such good eyesight, I can see clouds, snow, smoke, smog, and ash, so I can warn you about dangerous conditions and help you avoid them. When storms are brewing, I watch them closely and help with hurricane, tornado, and flood warnings to help keep you safe. And my lightning mapper tracks lightning strikes way up in the sky, even through dark, dense clouds. I also help with search and rescue missions. I listen for distress signals from emergency beacons and tell search and rescue teams just where to find people who need help. But even when I'm keeping a close eye on Earth, I'm monitoring weather out here in space, too. I watch the sun for big bursts of energy, which send waves of radiation toward Earth that can affect power grids, block communication with planes, cause errors in GPS, and damage satellites. Space weather is also very dangerous for astronauts working outside the International Space Station. I warn them so they can get inside where they'll be safe. So the next time you watch a weather report or check your phone for the forecast, remember, that's me. So look to the sky and wave. I'll be here. Whoa! Things are looking pretty bad down there. But don't worry. I'm going to give weather forecasters a heads up and help you stay safe. I'm a GOES-R series weather satellite, and one of my jobs is to keep an eye on Earth's weather as I orbit above. But I'm 22,000 miles above Earth. How does your local weather forecaster know what I see all the way up here? First, I have to figure out what's going on. I point my special camera at the Earth and take pictures of the clouds I see below. My pictures show where the clouds are, but I also take lots of other notes about the clouds. For example, how high they reach into the atmosphere, how much rain they might cause, and when a severe storm may be forming. But I can't keep all of this information to myself. I have to share it with weather forecasters down on Earth. A big antenna is waiting for my call. Since I'm a satellite, I send my pictures and notes in a computer language of ones and zeros. Luckily, the antenna speaks my language. Computers connected to the antenna organize my notes and combine all of the pictures and cloud information and translate them into weather maps. They send a version of the maps back up to me. I'll hold on to these for later. Another copy of the maps is split into smaller pieces. This helps the maps move faster from one place to another. The map pieces are then sent for processing before being sent back up in the sky to a communication satellite. From there, the maps are picked up by antennas at the National Weather Service forecast offices in each region. There are more than 100 offices. I also take the maps that I received and send them out to companies that specialize in making the maps more colorful and better for viewing on TVs and computers. The colorful maps and the maps from the forecast offices then go to your local weather forecaster. The forecaster combines the information from these maps with lots of other information, like model forecast data and radar data, to make predictions about the upcoming weather in your area. And that's how I help you find out if bad weather is going to ruin your afternoon plans. You're welcome. Soon it will be my time to shine in outer space. I'm the GOES-R satellite. That stands for Geostationary Operational Environmental Satellite. And the R stands for my order in this series of weather satellites. Like my older siblings before me, I'll do a lot for watching weather, but I'm pretty special because I have a lot of new gadgets. I'm originally from Colorado, but my journey to space has a few stops along the way. I'll be shipped in a very special satellite shipping container to Kennedy Space Center. Moving me around is not easy. I'm over 18 feet wide and weigh 6,000 pounds. And then things get really exciting. I get loaded onto an Atlas V541 launch vehicle. A big rocket! Woo! After Atlas and I blast off together, my compartment separates from the launch vehicle and I continue to climb higher and higher. Then I break away completely and unfurl my solar panel and antenna. After that, I have to use my thrusters to get into just the right position, 22,000 miles above the ground and traveling 1.9 miles per second to keep up with Earth's rotation. And then I can officially start my job along with my fellow GOES sisters, where I take advanced pictures for more accurate weather forecasts, map lightning in real time, and improve the monitoring of the sun's activity. It's going to be so awesome! I can't wait!
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Looking at today's sea ice analysis, about the same as yesterday, way up here to the north, and not a lot of change expected, anything significant here over the next several days. So we'll move right into the coastal water forecast here. Light northwest breezes 10 to maybe 15 knots along the entire coastline here, seas 3 to 4 feet. Light variable winds, central southern inside waters, and variable becoming south at 15 for Lynn Canal in the afternoon with 3-foot seas. That'll pick up to about 20 knots from the south for Lynn Canal Glacier Bay areas here. Stevens Passage southwest at 10, 2-foot seas. Northwest 15, Clarence Strait, seas 3 feet. Southwest staying light here for the south coast with those 10-knot winds and seas at about 5 feet, but winds increasing here. As you head north, 20 knots, turn southeast to small craft advisory levels there on the extreme north coast near Yakutat. And for Cook Inlet tomorrow, northeast at 20, seas 4 feet, northeast 15 for the areas south of the Forelands here, and then southeast 15 for Kamishak Bay. That extends out across the Barren Islands. Southeast about 20 here for the western North Gulf Coast. Otherwise, east winds 15 knots for Prince William Sound and the eastern North Gulf Coast, seas 3 to 5 feet. And then the outlook for Sunday, small craft advisories, Prince William Sound, east 25, seas building to 6 feet, and southeast 25, 6-foot seas here for the North Gulf Coast, 10-foot seas for the western North Gulf Coast. Gale warnings for Kamishak Bay, southeast 40 knots, seas building to 16 feet, and small craft advisories here, southern Cook Inlet, northeast 25, seas building to 9 feet, and 20-knot winds again for northern Cook Inlet. And for Saturday, here for the Alaska Peninsula tomorrow, good gales, a full gale blowing across the peninsula out of 40 knots out of the southeast, east 30, Bristol Bay, southeast 30, Sitkinak to Castle Cape, and then 15-knot winds for Kodiak Island. And then on Sunday, looking at 30-knot winds, south 30 knots there on the east side of the island, Shelikof Strait southeast at 30. And gales now for Bristol Bay, southeast 35 knots, and 30 to 40 knot southerly winds here for the Alaska Peninsula. And we've got gales all the way up to Sitkinak from Castle Cape from the south of those seas, 23 to 28 feet here on the Pacific side of the peninsula. And for the Aleutians, Fox Islands, 35 to 45 knot winds from the east and south tomorrow, and in between southeast, with seas running anywhere from 12 on the Bering Sea side to as high as 21 feet on the Pacific side. Coming around the backside of that low center here, good north to northwest winds sustained 45 knots for Adak and Atka, and those 45 knot winds extend out west to about, Chitka Island, and then northwest 30 knots for the far western zones. And then the outlook for Sunday, west 25 to 30 knots here. Small craft advisories west of Adak. Still looking at 40 knot winds for Adak and Atka, and 40 knot winds from the west and northwest extend all the way across Unalaska Island. Those seas running 15 to 25 feet. And for the southwest coast tomorrow, small craft advisories east 25 to 30 knots, east 20 St. Lawrence Island, only 10 knots in Norton Sound. Pribilofs east at 20, or I'm sorry, St. Matthew Island east at 20. The Pribilofs, good gale, forest winds, sustained 40 knots right out of the east. That'll swing around to the northwest, come down to 25 knots for your day Sunday. North 30 St. Matthew Island, east-southeast 30 knots to the southwest coast. Small craft advisories, Norton Sound and St. Lawrence Island. Central eastern coast, Arctic coast tomorrow, east winds 20 knots, seas 4 feet. Small craft advisories to the west side here at 25, and then Cape Beaufort to Wales, east at 20. Outlook for Sunday, gales now on the eastern stretch of the Beaufort Sea coastline here, 35 knots, 10-foot seas, east 30 knots all the way out to the central coast, 25 knot winds here, drop off to 15 knots from Cape Beaufort to Cape Thompson, and then back up to east 25. All the way down to the Bering Strait. For tonight, rain coming into south central Alaska and to a lesser extent west of the Alaska Range, and that change of showers. Kodiak dries out, a break behind that system. Big storm coming into the central Bering tonight with gale force winds and rain, possibly heavy at times, spreading up the Kenai Peninsula tomorrow. The rain early in the day, south central Alaska will shift into Prince William Sound later in the afternoon. This whole system will weaken and push out with clearing late in the afternoon. And the Panhandle, a couple of sunny days, mostly sunny days anyway, coming up with light winds there as well as the northern interior. And we'll see for Sunday, big storm here just off the southwest coast and the front pushing rain and strong winds into southern Alaska.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.